SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Never take your heart health for granted. For just $99, you can get a complete screening and know your risks. Call 601-249-5198 to schedule your Happy Healthy Heart screening at Southwest Mississippi Regional Medical Center.
All of a sudden, I feel like I know better than everyone else.
That's because anytime someone walks through a cloud of vape smoke, a millennial is born.
Now, you prepare that Fetzer valve with some 3-in-1 oil and some gauze pads. And I'm going to need about 10 quarts of antifreeze, preferably Prestone. No, I'll make that Quaker State.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive.
Good morning to you. How are you on a Friday morning? Dave Hughes, and for Richard, my semi-usual Friday slot on mornings with Richard Cross. Hope you're having a wonderful morning, and I hope you can feel your toes. Quick update on the host. He can't. But that's okay. We will eventually. Well, actually, it's not even eventually. We're going to warm back up. A big chunk of the state's going to be up in the low 70s by Sunday. I'm getting tired of the yo-yo, Lance Tolbert in the booth over there. Let's pick a temperature and stick with it. That's all I'm asking.
Well, as I was telling you, I kind of feel like the Swiss Family Robinson or something this morning. I mean, it's freezing cold, 20 degrees everywhere. Feels like Switzerland, like I need some snow skis on and whatever they do over there to have fun in the snow. It is that's the negative, though. We don't have the snow. You just got the cold, and it'll be over for long. But what is it, 18 in Greenwood?
Yeah. 20
in Yazoo City, 21 in Ridgeland. What is it balmy like down there in the Macomb?
Down here in the beautiful county of Pike, we're at about 29 right now.
Yeah, you're climbing, man. That's climbing.
Yeah.
Before you know it, it'll be 30.
We barely wrapped the faucets yesterday, so, we're doing fine. I will say, and I love this, totally apropos of nothing, my wife is addicted right now to going through and binge watching the entire Naked and Afraid series.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, couple of things here. Number one, there are some very competent people that go on that show. Number two, there are some very stupid people that go on that show. But what amazes me, they'll be in a desert. They'll be in South Africa. They'll be in someplace ridiculous where it's so hot during the day. Saw one the other day. The woman was walking around barefoot, and it was burning the skin off her feet because the ground temperature was like 138. That night, they're huddled together for warmth, because it crashed down to like 40 outside. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching it, and the only thing that I could think as I'm watching that is rookies.
Yeah. Rookies.
You don't know cold. You don't know cold. Come down here. Come down to Southwest. They've done some of the episodes in Mississippi.
Really?
I did not realize it.
Yeah, let them out in the Delta. Put a little honey on them and see what happens.
Well, they make it challenging. They try to not kill them, I think, but they've put them out down close to the coast, down in some of the swampy areas down there, and turned them loose. And it is hilarious to watch them experience the joy of southern mosquitoes.
Yeah,
when you got somebody from Oregon and somebody from Washington State, and they drop them next to the coast and the swamp. It goes really well.
It's like are these crows or mosquitoes? Oh, they're our pet mosquitoes. Yeah, they have names here.
Yeah. His name is Charlie. Call him by his name, please. He might be more friendly then.
He may not bite you then. Leave that big whelp on your forehead. That's always my favorite with a mosquito. You get to look forward to that. As soon as the warmth, starts showing its head and the flowers start blooming, you'll wake up and have that big whelp on your forehead where the mosquito found you, and that nice little tender skin from the winter just sitting there waiting for it. It's like a target for them.
Well, I'm not going to do it right now, but I could tell the story again of going to Grand Isle, Louisiana. My wife was born on Grand Isle and grew up there, raised there.
She's immune to mosquitoes then.
Not really, no. You would think, but no. And she took me down there one time. I wasn't aware mosquitoes could actually fly in formation, but as it turns out, yeah.
When you see them taking a cat off, you know you're in the South, and you know you're in the swamp of Louisiana.
Yes, 100%. I'm about to say a sentence I never thought I would say as a Mississippi boy. I'm depressed we lost the hockey game last night.
Well, I mean, Canada's safe, for another, year maybe. They won't be the property of America. And I love that about hockey, that you get to determine foreign policy, on the court or ice or rink, whatever it's called.
Well, to be fair, we just spent 4 years using much worse methods to determine policy, so that seems fitting. But
I'm good with hockey. You being how you determine things. I'm good with that.
Why not? There's fist fights.
Yes.
I think it's a great option. I just think we need to take some of the members of Canadian and U.S. Congress and put them out on the ice to actually play the game.
That's who should be playing it, though, right? Is those who are arguing all the time and creating the discord and discontent. Let them put on the gear.
Yeah,
but and skate it out.
Let's wait a few years until we can drop the average age of Congress people in America, or they're going to mop the ice with us. The best comment I saw about the hockey game after it was over with last night was on X, when somebody said, "Yeah, Canada's all confident now that it's over, but they don't know how we roll. Wait until we find 3 more goals at 3 a.m."
Yeah, that was. I didn't stay up late enough to watch it, but I knew it was happening and it was going on, and it was one of those things where you enjoy the revelry of the whole thing, I think, as much as the actual match. Very few times in sports, I think, does the build up and all of the stuff going on outside of the arena is seemingly as important and as poignant as what's happening in the actual game. But yeah, man, this has been one a coming, and Canada, they won. Oh man, they're safe now. So
yeah, maple syrup is still on top for another year. I think this is the first year they've had this 4-nation face-off.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't seen it before, but
it is a textbook example of how to put an event together to draw attention to and get interest in whatever sport you're representing or event or cause or whatever, because a week ago, nobody could tell you anything about hockey. I've got friends that can name all the members of the U.S. team. I still can't, but it's amazing the shift that made towards people paying attention to hockey for once.
Well, and you have the 4 nations battling it out, and so much has happened on the global scale over the last few years. Was it been like 10 years? Is what I'd read, that it's been since most of your hockey players have had any real, devoted international competition. So it's kind of a way for everything to get going again back in the international world. But yeah, how cool that it happened with all of the saber rattling going on between the U.S. of A. and Canada.
Saber rattling and silver-plated chainsaw rattling. I don't know if you saw that. The Argentinian president, Milei, met up with Elon last night and presented him with a silver-plated, full-size chainsaw.
I love it. I need a silver-plated chainsaw.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, he doesn't really need that. Elon, he could let go of that. SuperTalk needs that more than Elon does. Right?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we have the perfect space out there in the lobby for a trophy case with the chainsaw in it. I think it's a great idea. It's never going to happen, but we can dream, right?
I would love to see Elon working a chainsaw. Not that he couldn't, but I mean, that's probably not the one thing that he goes out and says, "Yeah, I'm going to chainsaw a tree down today." It just doesn't look like a chainsawer.
No, I'm going to tell you something. I am a huge fan of Elon Musk.
I love the guy. He's awesome.
There's one guy that works for him at SpaceX, former NASA employee. He was in command of the space station for a while, made multiple trips into space, and he was asked in an interview, after your career with NASA, you could have picked any slot in the world to go work. Why did you decide to come to work here? And he said, if you could go back 100 years and work with Henry Ford to develop the automobile industry, would you do it? That's where we're at. I want to be here. This man is innovating everything at the moment. This entire time period will be talked about for centuries. I want to be a part of it.
Yeah, it is an interesting time. And if you are a guy like Elon Musk and you can write your own ticket, you don't hitch your wagon to an exploding star that doesn't seem it's going to be there. You hitch it to the rising star. And this guy's not dumb. I love the way that the attacks have come after Trump and Elon and everybody for trying to save America some money. What a novel concept, to actually put some money in people's pockets.
We'll talk about that later, too. But did you see the joint interview with Trump and Elon sitting down with Sean Hannity?
How good was that?
That was fantastic. They're both sitting there going, these people are stupid.
Yeah,
they think
dumb.
they can,
what are these people thinking? I mean,
they think they can drive us apart? Really? They're cute. They're adorable. All right, when we come back, let's get things cranked up in a big way with my buddy Lance here as we continue on a very unwarm Friday morning on mornings here on Super Talk Mississippi. We'll do that next.
Shaping Mississippi politics each morning. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk Mississippi.
Sorry, I was taking a selfie while shooting a Snapchat, while periscoping that Snapchat, while Instagramming latte art, while Shazamming The Weeknd, while streaming Master of None, while retweeting George Takei, while saying this wins the internet, while still being hashtag so bored.
Welcome back to Mornings on a Friday morning. Dave Hughes in for Richard on this Friday, and love the little soundbite there at the beginning from Family Guy, but enough about what I do in my private moments. We'll just get right into the good stuff. It's scary how that seems to be the way things work even now.
Yeah.
That show really has some good insights. It also has some really stupid stuff.
But it's terrible at times, yeah. And at times it's genius. It's like most all of the cartooning. There's so many things that, it's almost like they tell the future a little bit. But if you throw enough at the wall, something's going to stick at some point, That's
exactly. That's exactly what happens. Yeah. And that is a good life lesson in general. Nobody remembers the 99 mistakes that you make. It's that one success that everybody points to.
And that's the truth, yeah. I mean, it's you remember the winners and you get rid of the losers and just keep moving forward. But they're South Park, Family Guy, all of them, they have that ability to say things well in advance, and then you go back and look at it and go, "Oh my God, they're so smart!" No, they're just making fun of everything. That's all. Everything. Yeah, and that's what comedy's supposed to be. Is there are no limits. You just kind of, you got to be able to laugh at stuff. But it's
exactly.
It's not Nostradamus in there writing this.
No, if you kick every possum you can find, eventually you'll get bitten. That was not the analogy I hoped it would be, but we're stuck with it now.
Yeah, I'll take the possum analogy. Anytime you can bring a possum into the equation.
That's what I think.
Possum, man. They're underrated, a possum is. I don't know if you could eat them much. I mean, I'm sure people do, but they're cute. I love a cute little possum.
The edibility of a possum is directly proportional to how hungry you are.
It's kind of a rat, right? So, it's just a big rat. If you want rat meat, possum hats, stuff like that. We don't have enough possum hats. come up with one of those.
I have seen a raccoon cap. I've never seen a possum hat.
Yeah, it's like you get like a possum ball cap. It's made out of the best quality possum from Mississippi. Yeah,
I didn't even know they wore hats. Okay, well, let's get down to work here.
I'm not even going to tell you what days that we have today. These are brutal, so we're going to skip the designations because they're not really. There's not a whole lot there to share with you, but I know everybody's been wondering, and today is definitely Blanket Jackson's birthday. He's 23, or she, I'm not quite sure.
No.
Yeah, that's the one that MJ dangled out the window in Germany. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Blanket Jackson, 23 years old. So,
you have to wonder. Because I have long been a proponent that you grow into your name. Whatever your parents name you.
I agree to this.
You grow into that name. So what kind of future are you sentencing a child to when you name it Blanket?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I tried to think of that with myself this morning. Like, what is this kid going to turn into? It's just going to be a clenching, needy, please wash me, I need stuff. I got lint over here. Please help me out. Oh, there's a hole. Staple it up. I mean, what are we dealing with here? Whoopi Jackson,
He is missing an incredible opportunity to make some of its own money. You just need to sign a sponsorship deal to star in commercials for Downy.
Yeah, or that old reverse. What is the thing that was the? It's like when you get out of the shower, you put on your, but it's the Furby Snuggly. What was it called? The backwards, the shower deal. I mean, you'd lay down and it's just like a blanket with arms. Yeah, they ought to do that. I mean, I can't remember, Snuggie or something like that.
Yeah,
and
I think
they showed like
Snuggie.
a whole crowd of people at a basketball game. They're all wearing it, and you're like, that's never going to happen. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe in Arkansas, yeah. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah. They got a couple others here. And tell me who you think this is. Let me get it over here and load it up. And
okay.
I'm going to play two clips. This guy was in both of these. So you got to think for a second and tell me who is the actor whose birthday it is today when you play this song.
Okay.
Got that one. And then, so now.
Hey baby, I hear the blues are calling. Toss salads and scrambled eggs. Quite stylish. And
You know who it is?
Oh, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
I can get that one. Kelsey Grammer.
There you go. There we go.
Fraser Crank playing the same part in both shows.
That's exactly right. That's kind of why I pulled that one up. I grew up on Cheers. I don't know how much of it that you watched, but I was always a huge fan of it. And then, you had the Splinter. He moved out to, Oregon or Seattle or something like that. Seattle. Washington. Seattle.
Yeah.
And they had the dad and the dog and the brother and all that. That was a pretty cool spinoff, I thought. I mean, I'm one of those that I kind of like a good spinoff, a second run on something. Did you like Frasier as much as Cheers, or did you like either of them?
Probably like Cheers more than Frasier. I liked Frasier. It was a great
too
show.
smart for me. Yeah, it's way
But
above.
it was. But they were both really good shows, and they were both great examples of what Hollywood can't seem to do anymore.
Yeah, like Ted Danson before he and Whoopi dated, right? Yeah,
yes. Yes, well, used to, they made things, they made shows, they made movies, they made any form of entertainment that comes out of Hollywood based on whether or not it was entertaining. They wanted to get the people in, watching, talking about it, Monday morning water cooler discussions. You wanted people, whatever day it was, the next morning, you wanted people standing around the water cooler. Hey, did you see Cheers last night?
Yeah,
holy cow, that was funny.
Right, everybody works at the house now.
And now it's all about activism.
You got to have something to protest.
If you go look it up, the ratings of the top 10 shows now, which is a measure of the number of people watching it, are well below what the ratings were for the top 10 shows even 10 years ago, much less 20 or 30.
Yep.
Well, you just don't get the number of people watching the mess that they put out.
Well, you also have Elliot Page, and that was whatever her name was before
Ellen Page.
Ellen, that's right. Thank you. 38. One of my favorites, greatest baseball movie ever made. I tried to turn cross onto this one the other day, but Long Gone. It's one that's kind of obscure. Great HBO flick from like the early or late 80s, early 90s. Long gone if you hadn't seen it. It's baseball season. William Peterson, To Live and Die in L.A. Great movie, too. 72 years old. And one of my favorites. A line that lives in infamy forever and ever. I can't complete the line on air, but I'm going to give you a kickoff on this. Yippee-ki-yay, blah, 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 blah. Yeah,
my fine gentleman. We'll just substitute that.
Alan Rickman. He would have been 79 years old today. So those are some of your biggest birthdays. But don't forget, it is Blanket Jackson's birthday. And I think we gave credit to Enzo Ferrari yesterday and today because, he's that important. But apparently he's born on 2 different days, yesterday and today. So we're going to go with that. And,
one of them.
Yeah,
we're close.
Yeah, we're close. We're going to flip a coin here. Maybe if it shows up again tomorrow, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. But you also had in 1965, Malcolm X was shot on this day in history. Tragic deal there. You had so much going on in those times. It was just crazy, and I'm so happy we don't have and did not have that as much after the defund the police, the George Floyd, and all that stuff that was going on. I'm so happy we didn't see a bunch of craziness and assassinations and weirdness going on. But it made me think. Everybody's blaming Trump for all the aircraft that are falling out of the sky and running into stuff, and and it's because of fired a few people over here. And did anybody take the blame for defunding the police and all of the traffic problems that happened and car crashes and murders and all that? Who was to blame for that? Because
no one.
Right. That just happened organically, didn't it, Dave?
Yes. And you have to remember, those protests were mostly peaceful.
Yeah, there was nothing but peace and love and harmony there.
Yes. Yeah. My favorite fact, and I'm sure you guys talked about this week, talking about all of the plane problems with air travel right now. Have you seen the stats from the National Transportation Safety Board comparing January and February this year?
86 or 87 more last year in the same time period, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing.
They keep desperately trying to turn that into a talking point, and it's not working.
No, it's not, because they'll say, well, it's the big craft. Well, of course, the one in D.C. was horrific, and all of them are terrible. Any crash, any life lost, any life endangered is tragic in that way. But the reality is there were a lot more last year in the same time period than there are this year. And who was running the place then? Do we blame Biden or Buttigieg or whoever? Who is?
I think Booty Judge is probably a good one.
Yeah, thanks. I never get his name right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Booty Judge.
Booty Judge. Yeah.
Booty Judge. That's the easiest way to remember it because, just seems appropriate. But that's the way to. It took me forever to learn how to say his name. For a while, I just called him Frank, and that's no part of his name.
Yeah, I don't want to get canceled.
Yeah, well, I quit caring about that quite a few minutes ago, and now I'm just drifting aimlessly through my life. We continue on this Friday morning on Mornings without Richard Cross, but with 100% extra Dave Hughes added. We'll do that next.
Mornings with Richard Cross, here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
What else?
And always on the SuperTalk app.
Sister, tell your brother, brother, tell your auntie tell your uncle, uncle, tell my cousin, cousin, tell my friend, going up the country, mama, don't you want to go? May take me a fair run, may take 1 or 2 more.
Welcome back. Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Richard out on Fridays, Dave Hughes here, and I've got that chart. Before we get to sports and other things, Lance, I've got that National Transportation Safety Board chart pulled up. February we're not done with yet, but there have only been 26 air accidents in the month of February so far. We've got a week left, so I don't think we're going to get up to last year's number in February of 93. We're sitting at 26. But let's look at January, full month. January, we had 62 reported air traffic accidents. That is the lowest on the entire chart back to 2007 for January. The highest was 101 that happened back in 2011. Of course, as you know, the president in 2011 was totally blameless. That was Barack Obama. So you look at this, and we are doing better with air traffic accidents than for last month and all of this month so far than we have in the last, 18 years?
Yeah.
It's Trump's fault. Sure, we'll go with that.
It's convenient. Makes it easy. You gotta blame.
It's stupid.
Well,
is what it is.
There's an article I read this morning, and since we have Dixon, today for sports as well, and there's not we've already covered the Big Bang, which was
we had hockey.
You had the hockey deal. But I was reading an article early this morning about the pushback that Target is receiving over rolling back DEI. And it's because a lot of consumers felt that they were sold a lie, and people have started, they've gone other places because, Target has lied to them. And it says black people supported Target. They went into that space because of what Target had done. People are questioning whether there was really, any commitment, or was this just a marketing stunt? It was a marketing stunt.
It always
is, and this is too, whatever they're doing now. I mean, why would people put so much faith in a brand? That shows you where we've gone in society, to me, really is to trust a brand who's trying to make money off of you, that they're actually there for you. No, they're there to sell a product. That's what their everybody's supposed to be so sensitive now to everything and everybody and this, and, the reality is their job is to get goods, put them on a rack, and sell them to you and make money at that. It's really how simple this is. And when we get back to doing that, I think the country will be much healthier and the balance sheets will start looking a lot different.
Well, and I'm going to reveal a big secret here. The biggest lie.
Is it a gender reveal?
Oh, no. Get Pete, whatever. Did we decide which name we were going with?
I'm going with our listener on the text
line. Was actually really good. We're not going there on the air, but that was perfect. Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
No, and really I take that back. It's probably the second biggest, most widespread lie told in today's society. The biggest one is, I'm not trying to sell you anything. That's the biggest one.
Yeah, of course you are.
But the second biggest one is, I care.
Yeah, I care. Yes. Yeah.
They don't care. Corporations, national media, a big chunk of politicians don't care. They want you to believe they care. And there is an enormous gaping difference between those two positions.
Oh, wow. And isn't that really one of the most important things as a human being you can deal with is, understanding your environment that's around you? Understanding yourself. Why are we so devoted to this mindset of do something for me, help me, be sensitive to me, me? And that's where we are. And this is, I think the last few years has been a great microscope onto the sickness that we have as a society somewhat. And it is, I know there's a lot of people out there worried about their jobs and their government job and this and the benefits and that. It's going to be okay. We're going to be fine.
Yes.
The world is not coming to an end because Donald Trump and Elon Musk are cutting spending. The world is not going to come to an end. Don't let anyone tell you that's the way it is. Most of this money that should have been deployed as it was designed would have gone and probably helped the economy in many cases, but it didn't get there, and a lot of it ain't getting there. And if you really think that pinning up millions and billions of dollars in the back pockets of politicians is the greatest way to inject capital into your economy, you're wrong. That money needs to be deployed as it was designed to be deployed. And what they're saying is it wasn't. You've been cheated. That's why these roads over here aren't paved, and that's why that bridge is crumbling, and that's why there's no roof on this school over here, and that's why these police departments are because the money didn't go where it was supposed to. And that's what we've got to figure out. How do we get the money to where it's supposed to go and make the greatest difference for average, ordinary Americans that need that.
Well, and one of the end results of this entire process with Doge and everything else is we're going to find out it takes less money to get better results than we've been spending, than we've been giving, than the government has been taking from us, because a significant percentage of it has been going over here to support transgender puppets in Yugoslavia instead of making sure you don't fall through the bridge while you're driving to work.
Right. Trump, I think that one interesting thing, too, is that Elon Musk kind of trolling the Fed yesterday, saying, I think I might want to audit the Fed. Hey, please audit the Fed, man. As somebody that spent many years in finance, that's one of the most interesting relationships of money and power that you'll ever understand. And then the dual mandate of controlling inflation and unemployment and these things by raising interest rates. Y'all go do a little digging on that and figure out if that works. That's why the markets always bounce left and right, far to the left, far to the right. And you're telling me that you have this entity up here, there's a bunch of private bankers, and they really got your best interest in mind when it's all about profit to them as well. Yeah, please audit them. I would love to see what you got going on over there.
Yeah, and I think that is going to be an interesting process.
Yeah, does anybody know who owns the Fed? I do, and I'm not saying it on air. I had stuff removed from Facebook for telling you who owns the Fed. It would be go figure that one out. So that's who you're playing with. That's who you're playing with. And these guys aren't scared, and that's what I really enjoy about all this is they're not scared. They're pulling the covers back and saying, all right, what's under here?
Yes, and that ties into, I've been talking for a couple of weeks now about what's going on with gold that is still not getting a ton of attention. It's getting more now, but they have this week when people, not governments, but people go to the Bank of England to withdraw actual gold bullion in violation of English law. The law usually says within a couple of days at most they have to give it to you. They're saying it's a 4 to 6 week delay now because they don't have any left.
Yeah, they got to go dig it up.
Because it's all been transferred here to America. And now you've got Trump and everyone else saying, okay, it's time to go in there and take a look at the supply in Fort Knox and see what's actually in there. Fort Knox has come out and said, well, you're welcome to come. Anybody is welcome to come anytime. And look, that functionally has not been true. There are numerous senators on record saying they have tried multiple times and been told you can't come in here.
That great documentary, it's on YouTube. I can't remember the name of it, but it goes, I think it's 1973 or 74. And I love it because you see the old suits and the glasses and everything. People got like cigarettes walking around. You're wondering if there's like a Billy Boy beer somewhere floating around too. But there was the interview when they were actually going into the into the Fort Knox. And it was pretty well done. I can't remember what news agency did it, but it's still out on YouTube. But that's how long it's been. It's been since the 70s, man, since anybody's actually seen the gold. And even then, you didn't know if you were just looking at real gold, painted blocks, if this was some kind of facade where it looked like there's a lot of gold. And it's not like they went in and did inventory or anything. So it was just a basic, hands-on inspection.
Here's a fun fact, and as a finance guy, you probably know this and could explain it to some extent. Gold is pushing $3,000 a troy ounce right now. Mm-hmm. Do you know what officially inside the financial system in the federal government, do you know what the official value of gold is per troy ounce?
Well, $44 is what they paid for it back in the day.
That's what they still have it valued at.
Well, and silver's an interesting one too. It's a more industrial used metal, and as well has great currency value. And that's another one. You don't hear anything about silver much as a pair to gold, but it has historically held values that have been in a ratio that have been pretty straightforward for many years. And it really isn't holding those kind of historic ratios. So, there's all kind of interesting stuff going on there. And you go, why? Why do these things not add up? Well, they're trying to figure that out for you, folks. Give them a chance to do it.
That is the part of this process that isn't making headlines because it's not flashy. It's not simple to explain. But basically, the way the policy is set, If somebody handed you, Lance, $3,000 and told you, okay, now this is only worth $44, how easy is your accounting going to be?
Showing a lot of gains there.
There's there are some things going on that need to be exposed to the harsh, disinfecting sunlight of the day, and that's what they're doing.
Perfect.
And you gotta love it. When we come back, we're going to expose your bank account and hopefully increase your value as well, because it's Mississippi Lottery time next on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
And I don't know if you ever be mine, but I'll make love to you any old time.
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. SuperTalk Mississippi Mornings on a Friday morning. Dave Hughes here. And now it's time for the moment of truth. Get your tickets out. Get ready. Check your numbers. You could be my new best friend. It's time to look at the numbers from the Mississippi Lottery. And we will start, as always, with Lotto America. Our big phrase that we use all the time, in use again today. No jackpot winner in the last drawing on Wednesday. The numbers then were 3, 22, 23, 35, 41. The star ball was 2, and the all-star bonus multiplier was 3. Now, the estimated jackpot for tomorrow night's drawing in Lotto America, $24.47 million. That would be an estimated cash value of $11.29 million. I'm going to say when you win, not if you win, because we're thinking positively this morning. For the Powerball, you guessed it, Wednesday, no jackpot winner. The numbers were 6, 21, 28, 49, 60. The Powerball was 20, and the Power Play multiplier was 2. That brings the estimated jackpot for tomorrow night's drawing up to $215 million.
You can buy a lot of friends with that. No.
You could buy me. I don't know about it. I don't know about the total number, but I am firmly for sale at that point. The estimated cash value, $99.3 million. That was transparency and honesty in action, by the way.
To do this, we got to be honest, right?
Yes, and I am not dissembling at all here. Double play numbers from Wednesday were 15, 21, 34, 43, 60, and the Powerball was 23. Mega Millions, that's right, no jackpot winner. The Tuesday night drawing, the numbers were 1, 20, 25, 58, 61. The Mega Ball was 22, and the Megaplier multiplier was 2. Next drawing is tonight, and that estimated jackpot, $165 million. The estimated cash value, $75.1 million, if you take that lump sum cash payment instead of the annuity option. Mississippi Match 5. Lance, be careful. I hope you're sitting down. I'm going to shock you here. No jackpot winner in last night's drawing.
Like 80 of them in a row there for about 2 weeks. Now it's growing.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're getting there. The numbers from last night's drawing, 4, 9, 10, 15, and 34. The estimated jackpot for tonight's drawing, $138,000. Cash 3, Cash 4, Fireball, and Cash Pop. The drawings from yesterday, middays, and the Cash 3, the $500 game. The midday numbers were 0, 8, and 2. The evening numbers were 4, 7, and 1. The Cash 4, $5,000 game. The midday draw gave us numbers of 3, 4, 1, and 3. The evening numbers, 7, 1, 5, and 9. Midday for Fireball yesterday, the drawing was a goose egg. 0 was the number they pulled. For the evening drawing, they drew 9. And then for Cash Pop, midday, 3 was the number pulled. Last night, in the evening drawing for Cash Pop, the number was 13. we have had a lot of winners, and I love the way they're putting it. Mississippi Lottery has created 3 brand new millionaires in February. That's impressive when you think about it. Last week in Petal, of course, we talked about it last week, $10 million Powerball double play jackpot. Largest prize given in Mississippi Lottery history was last week. So you always have the option to become a millionaire if you so choose, right?
Well, the Georgia visitor that won the $1 million, I wonder how much Stacey Abrams gets. Is that like half of it, you think?
Well, luckily they did the $1 power play, so they got $2 million. So when Abrams takes her half, you'll still be a millionaire. So it'll work out great. You set that up. That's your fault, by the way, when we have the meeting. The winners from yesterday on some of the other games, Cash Pop, we did have a $1,000 winner by a woman in Hamilton. Grenada woman won $5,000 on Cash 4. She bought that ticket in Ridgeland, no less. Right outside your door there, Lance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so you can go hit that
street.
Yeah, the Highway 51 Chevron. So you could pop out during one of the breaks and get $5,000.
I always wonder, is it better to go back to the to the place where the crime occurred? As far as winning a lottery, because you see the names all the time, right? Like, do I go there, or do I go to the one across the street next just to try? Is there strategy?
I don't really know. A lot of people will tell you there is, but it's random. So, you could have the same place have a winner 5 times in a row.
You've got the people that do the 7 tickets, and then it'll be like 3 different locations. So they've got something figured out.
Yes. $10 extreme payday. The scratch off a Morristown, Tennessee woman won $1,000 on a ticket she bought in Poplarville. That's a decent drive from Morristown. The $20 200X Cash Blitz winner, Hernando Man, won $1,000 in Hernando. And the $20 My Lottery Dream Home ticket had a $1,000 winner. Heidelberg Man won that grand on a ticket bought in Sandersville. The money is waiting for you. All you got to do is take your shot to have a chance to claim it. We've got Fox News, SuperTalk Mississippi News, and then hour number 2 of Mornings.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
From Sumner to Summit to Summerall, Richard has something for you. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
I got a $100 check from my grandma, and my dad said I need to put it in the bank so it can grow over the years.
Well, that's fantastic. A really smart decision, young man. We can put that check in a money market mutual fund. Then we'll reinvest the earnings into foreign currency accounts with compounding interest, and it's gone.
What?
It's gone. It's all gone.
What's all gone?
The money in your account. It didn't do too well. It's gone.
I think you forgot my bread.
Bread, $2 extra.
That not only applies to money and investments, that also very much now applies to cryptocurrency, which I didn't think was really a thing or had made a splash at all when that clip was made. Welcome back. Mornings on Friday morning. Richard out on Fridays, Dave Hughes in the chair. And coming up at the bottom of the hour, actually, we're going to be joined by Representative Brent Anderson from represents Hancock County. We're going to be talking about House Bill 602, the seafood labeling law. We've talked about that in the past. The bill has been introduced, moving through the process right now. We'll get an update on that and talk some more about what brought that about. I have way too many things to discuss this morning, but I have a couple that are very much on my mind that I want to pay a little bit of attention to here. One of them is a story that you probably haven't heard about yet that happened this week. Minnesota. Why do I care about Minnesota, Dave? I'm glad you asked. The Minnesota Supreme Court issued a ruling on Wednesday in a case from 2022. In that case, someone was suspected of stealing catalytic converters. So they got pulled over by a sheriff's deputy. Well, the sheriff's deputy searched the car and found a BB gun specifically, under the front seat. They then charged him with carrying a BB gun in a public place. This has led to court battles about whether or not in Minnesota your vehicle is an extension of your home. That a lot of people understand things to mean that. The Fourth Amendment of the Constitution talks about the right of the people to be secure in their person, houses, papers, and effects. It didn't mention cars because they didn't exist yet when that was written. But that's been kind of the interpretation over the years. Well, on Wednesday, the Minnesota Supreme Court ruled that the interior of a vehicle is a public place if it's being driven on public roads. That was their wording. That's the way they put it. In the state of Minnesota, that is the state Supreme Court ruling that the inside of your vehicle, if you're driving on a public road in Minnesota, the inside of your vehicle is a public place. Does that mean people can go like loiter in it? I mean, I don't.
Yeah. Do you have to like put up like what bathroom it is on the side of your car, or something now that it's public, or can you pitch a tent in there and sleep, The
only place in Mississippi law, Mississippi statute, where they really deal with this is 97.315, that section. There's a little bit of wiggle room there. It does talk about that you can defend an occupied vehicle and kill someone if they're threatening it. But it doesn't go a lot further than that. But I think this illustrates something that's going on that we need to pay attention to. We have seen all the lawsuits that are being filed against the Trump administration and Elon Musk and Doge and everything for what they're doing and how they're going about it. There's a second layer to what has been now termed lawfare that's going on, and it is a continuation of the direct attack on personal rights. We're going to be talking at the top of next hour about this exact same thing as well, so stick around for that when we have Wyatt Emmerich on. This is the kind of thing we have to watch for, and I think this is the kind of thing maybe we need to take some action on in advance and clarify this. Of course, it's too late now for this session, but I'm going to throw it out next session. Why don't we clarify that your vehicle in the state of Mississippi is an extension of your home? You ask people and you will get that exact phrase back as kind of a common knowledge. Oh, well, your vehicle's considered an extension of your home. I don't know that we have that rock solid clear. And we just had a ruling in Minnesota. Of course, that's going to be appealed. Of course, it's going to wind up at the Supreme Court, and that might solve this whole issue. But this entire thing is a great illustration of how we need to really start paying attention to some things that everybody assumes that's the way it is. Everybody assumes that you have this right or that right. But maybe it's not as rock solid legally as sometimes we think it is. And we need to take care of that, because in the climate that we're in right now, it's kind of like an injured animal. The Democratic Party and the liberal judges around the country, they are taking it on the chin. The Trump administration is just wreaking havoc with their worldview. As a result, they're lashing out in any direction they can. Everywhere, anywhere, on every issue they think they can get some traction on. This case in Minnesota is an example of that. So I think we need to pay attention to this and maybe do some preventative maintenance on things like this. Even if it's not necessarily this, but we need to take a cold, hard look at the law as it exists and, well, make sure it's as airtight as possible moving forward, because This one kind of bothered me. You've got that. You've got the case we're talking about with the editorial next hour, which, do I have feelings on that?
That was a good one.
That is ridiculous, if you ask me.
A good one in the form of how ridiculous and out of left field that seemed to be.
But it's another example. It's not the same thing at all, but it's in the same bucket, if you will, where it is a direct legal challenge and a direct legal attack on what everyone thinks is pretty well codified law, that this is the way it is. These are your rights. This is how this works. So there are two examples, one of them right here in Mississippi, where things that are pretty well established, or everybody thinks they are anyway, are under attack. Not at the federal level, not with President Trump, not with his administration at all. They can't do anything to him. They keep finding out. We had two more of the different cases that were filed against Trump for some of the moves he's making. The judges yesterday, two separate judges, different ones, refused to issue restraining orders on him doing the mass layoffs, those kind of things. Said, nope, can't do that. That's not the way this works. So
going for the low-hanging fruit, aren't they?
Yes. Now the injured animal, since they're getting no traction against the person that's injuring them, is going to lash out at anybody that comes within arm's reach. They're casting about. They're looking for a way to get a win for their, in my opinion, extremely messed up worldview. So we have to be doubly careful, not on the federal level. Both of these are state cases. Both of these are contained to states, Minnesota and Mississippi. This is something we have to pay attention to, and we have to do as much work as we can to prevent some of this kind of nonsense from rearing its ugly head and costing us tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and time and stress to defend, when we can possibly prevent some of that by clarifying some things that might need some clarifying. So I just wanted to bring that out because, again, this is another one of those cases where the liberal mindset of the national media is in full sway. You haven't heard about this, which also, by the way, tells you this is not being done as a way to crow and to wave their flag around and explain how awesome they are. No, they just want some wins. They just want to hurt the people that are currently hurting them. So we have to, if anything else, be more on guard than we have ever been. I am extremely looking forward to that interview next hour because I have personal experiences along this exact track. So it kind of hit a nerve with me. So I cannot wait to have that conversation next hour with Wyatt Emmerich. Your car is an extension of your home. Maybe. That's about as far as you can go right now. Because, well, we had one case this week that said differently. When we come back, know a good locksmith? Got a job opening for him. We'll talk about that when we come back on Super Talk Mississippi on Mornings.
From the Venable.
Morning, partner. The sun is up, the coffee is on, and you're starting your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Super Talk Mississippi mornings on a Friday morning. The mass layoffs have begun and are continuing and will continue for a while now. I have no doubt they have, I think it's 6,000 IRS agents that are getting laid off.
Out of what, 95,000 that they added? So, yeah, it seems like a drop in the bucket, right?
Yeah, that's why there are more to come. So the majority of the ones being laid off are in the enforcement department. Big surprise. That's where they added all the people because, 4.7 trillion unaccounted for and unattributed in the Treasury Department system as to where it went, who it went to, and what it went for. That's no big deal. But that $400 you made on Facebook Marketplace, we're going to get you. That was the philosophy in the last administration. But we're uncovering something that I think this is a widespread problem, once again, not just at the federal level, but at every level of government. The Washington Post thinks they're making a point with a story that they have out about the federal layoffs and how they are devastating the national park system. They think they've got a great gotcha here. They think they're making their point and underlining how evil Trump is, and all they're doing is exposing how ridiculous the lack of organization is in various agencies. I'm going to read part of this to you, Lance. I don't know if you've seen this. At California's Yosemite National Park, the Trump administration fired the only locksmith on staff on Friday. He was the sole employee with the keys and the institutional knowledge needed to rescue visitors from locked restrooms.
Well, yeah, that's not a very good plan to have one guy with all the keys, right?
Did he take them with him?
Yeah, did he just take off with the ring like a dungeon master?
No one else.
And two, I thought it was against a lot of locked bathroom doors now on public property. No, I'm kidding, but you would think that over this last several years that anybody that wants to go in a bathroom could pretty much just go, right?
Yeah, I think so. It doesn't matter, nothing matters apparently. But let's focus for just a second on the fact that phrase, the institutional knowledge needed to rescue visitors from locked restrooms. You stick the key in the lock, you turn it, you open the door. How is that institutional knowledge? I did not realize every time I go home, I'm executing institutional knowledge to get inside. This is the level of bureaucracy that we're dealing with, that's being battled right now by the Trump administration. When you take something as simple as, here's the key, go unlock that bathroom, and classify it as institutional knowledge, you're making stuff up just to make people feel important.
Yeah, locksmith, yeah. I'm sure in the real world out there, locksmithing is extremely important. But
yes, and you know what? There are millions of locksmiths all around the country. I know several of them. Why do you have to have a locksmith on staff to begin with? Hire it out. It's going to be cheaper. You're going to save money. You need a locksmith. You call a guy. He shows up in his little truck, got all his tools in the back and all his stuff, and he takes care of what you need taken care of. And I guarantee you that's going to add up to less than the salary and benefits they were paying to have a locksmith on staff at Yosemite, especially when apparently a big part of his institutional knowledge was something a passerby that doesn't even work there could do. Hey, I'm stuck here answering the phones, but somebody's locked in the bathroom over there. Take this key and unlock it for them.
Yeah, and you're giving benefits, retirement, government, all the great government benefits that you get from being a government employee. When you could likely sub that out pretty easily. I'd imagine you could call the locksmith and say, hey, we got one of these folks locked in the bathroom again. He'd probably show up and say, hey, man, you might want to quit locking, putting locks on the bathroom. This keeps happening. Let's solve the problem here.
The wait to enter Arizona's Grand Canyon National Park, as I continue reading from this past weekend was twice as long as usual after the administration let go 4 employees who worked at the south entrance, where roughly 90% of the park's nearly 5 million annual visitors pass through. What they need is 3 entry-level workers from Chick-fil-A working for half the money, and they can solve that problem. Have you seen the number of people that they shuttle through Chick-fil-A drive-thrus every day with no trouble?
Yeah, open up another line.
It's fast. It's efficient. They
Put
say
the
it's
pad in their hand and get them out there.
Yeah. They say it's their pleasure, and these four though,
and you get what you ordered.
Doubled wait times, which I'm going to guess weren't short to begin with. So this is the funny part to me, and watch for more instances of this moving forward as they continue to scrabble, trying to find a way to cast this in a negative light. All they're doing is proving the point, which is we got a lot of people making a lot of money that we don't have to pay as taxpayers because what they're doing is not nearly as important as it is inside their own heads.
That's exactly the point, isn't it? I mean, you're making a great point there. It's, self-aggrandizement.
Yes.
I mean, that's the definition. I'm more important because they said I was.
Yes.
But it has nothing to do with reality. It's just somebody told you were. Mama loves you,
Did you see my title on the door to my office here? Don't you know who I am?
Oh, man.
Yeah, you're the latest ex-employee. Have a good day. That's what they're being told, and they can't deal with it.
What's the bonus structure for the bathroom locksmith, do you think?
That's a good question. Is it per visitor saved? Are they judged? Is the bonus structure tied into the cleanliness of the bathroom?
Yeah, does he have a plunger like where the baton would go?
Oh, no, he's just the locksmith. That's a different area of institutional knowledge.
You've got to have a whole other person to do that.
Yeah, the institutional knowledge required to clean the toilets is completely different.
Yeah, once he gets the door open, he walks in and says, all right, now I got to go call the cleaning crew. And then 2 hours later, that happens.
You have to, now, to be fair, if that's your job, if that's the kind of thing you do, you have to come up with a way to answer the question, so what do you do, in a way that doesn't humiliate you. What do you do for a living? I unlock the bathrooms at the park.
Yeah. And how many of them are there? Well, there's 2. Yeah.
I utilize my institutional knowledge to perform a wide variety of tasks related to park visitor rescue, safety, and comfort.
Well, so he has the key ring for the bathrooms. It doesn't sound like anybody's getting locked out of offices or anything like that. It's just, bathrooms, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Just the bathrooms is all that's mentioned here. But again, my question is, did he take his keys with him? If not, somebody else can go unlock the bathrooms. This is not the issue they're trying to desperately make people think it is. And this is the kind of waste that they're ferreting out. How could you let him go? I know how to turn a key in a lock. That's how. It's not that hard. You can go pay somebody minimum wage to stand around and wait to turn keys and locks for people trying to use the public restrooms.
I've read several articles of the park rangers and several that have very much outraged about being, losing their job. All of them that I've read were on probationary status, meaning that they had not fulfilled that initial requirement of full-time employment. But I think there's a lot of folks in that world that are getting cut that are in that probationary period. And Dave, we had a question about a certain bill that I wanted to mention quickly because I know we're about to go to break, but it was the methamphetamine bill that one of our listeners was curious about, and that is a Daniel Sparks bill. That bill has been referred to, I believe it's in committee or being referred to, I'll go back to that, but it's to provide that the court shall require the defendant upon conviction of first offense to be assessed as to whether the defendant should participate in a drug treatment program approved by the Department of Mental Health from a department certified provider unless the court enters a written finding that a drug treatment program is inappropriate. So that's the question is, what is the meth offense? What are they doing there? So just an update on that bill. It is, let me get back over here, give you a better update here where we are. Floor and projected votes, the third reading and final passage potentially. And also we have tracking and remarks there. It was engrossed on the 17th. So to revise the penalty for simple possession of certain amounts of methamphetamine. So it's still there, still rolling, and they're still dealing with that bill right now. Senate Bill 2347.
You asked me, that's attacking the correct end of the problem.
Don't put nonviolent criminals in the pen with violent criminals.
Yes. It's expensive, it's ineffective, and you have the same problem when they get out that you had when you put them in.
Or worse, yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a good problem. We'll talk about something else when we come back. Representative Brent Anderson will join us. He's the chair of the House Marine Resources Committee. We're going to talk about seafood and what you're eating and if you know what it is next.
Segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
No matter where you're from, Abbeville, Batesville, DeIberville, or any other ville in the SIP, you're starting your day off right. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome back. Mornings on a Friday morning. Dave Hughes in the chair. Richard out, as is normally the case on Fridays. And we are joined now by the chairman of the House Marine Resources Committee, Representative Brent Anderson. Representative Chairman, how you doing this morning?
Doing wonderful, Dave. Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And we've been paying attention to a bill that's working its way through the process, has been since the beginning of the session. House Bill 605, I believe it is, that basically makes it where no one can misrepresent that they have domestic seafood for sale and try to slide something in from some other country from outside the U.S. and specifically outside Mississippi, I think is what we focus on, even though that's not the exact intention. Is it? I don't think. I think it's just, it has to be domestic, right?
It is. And we do. We have a big goal when you bring Mississippi. It's a goal of ours is to help the men and women that fish here in Mississippi. And it's one of the longest industries running here in Mississippi. And we're hoping that this bill can really help bring that industry back alive in Mississippi. And by doing this bill, and we allow these fishermen to be able to sell their product right here in Mississippi and not have to compete with foreign seafood. It's a really good objective for this bill.
Well, and it's helpful to the consumers too, because I'm sorry, I'm a catfish aficionado. I will eat any catfish that swims too slowly past me. And there is such a difference between Mississippi catfish and, say, imported tilapia, which is sometimes misrepresented as catfish or a catfish style product. It's night and day to me when you eat that. That applies to all seafood, though. We just have a fantastic quality of seafood, and this is to help prevent somebody coming in with a lower quality seafood and representing it as being from here and being better than it is, and probably at a higher profit margin, I would think.
That is correct. And that's the ultimate goal of this bill. We've worked on this bill for over a year, trying to get it right. We're not telling anyone what to sell, but we're telling you, do not mislabel, saying that you want to sell the wonderful Gulf seafood that we have right here in the Gulf of America and right here on the coast of Mississippi. We want you to sell that product, but we also don't want you to mislabel it selling a foreign product and representing it as a Gulf seafood.
Now, this, of course, ties into what has been happening down on the coast. A few months ago, we had the problem come up where this was an issue with some restaurants and some places down on the Gulf Coast. Was this bill in the works before all of that came up, or did that kind of prompt this bill?
No, Dave, this is the second time I've dropped this bill. It had died in the Senate several years back. But we had actually started working on it this year, myself and Senator Thompson from here on the coast. He's the Senate chair of Fortune Marines in the Senate. That just set fire to why we really needed this bill. There was a lot of misrepresentation, and it added to the fact of why we were trying to push this bill for Mississippi. The consumers of Mississippi, the millions of tourists to Mississippi, deserve to have what they're being told they're being sold. And so we've taken this bill and we're pushing it hard. We want to protect the consumers, protect the tourists, protect the fishing industry. So that was a big added bonus in the importance of this bill and why we're really pushing it.
And it is important for the fishermen, definitely, because it affects their bottom line. But I think you bring up another good point there when you mention tourism, because it is the state of Mississippi's reputation to the rest of the world, basically, on the line when they have some lower quality stuff that they try to push as having come from Mississippi, and then they don't enjoy it and go, well, the Mississippi seafood's not that good. It's not any better than anywhere else, which is wrong. And that's a huge part of the driving force behind this.
It is. I mean, we have a product here that has been available for hundreds of years, and then we're in 2025 now. We should not be mislabeling seafood. We should not be mislabeling crawfish. And this bill has really reached out to many. Commissioner Gibson, the Department of Ag, has really worked with us over the summer. He's going to continue helping us work the northern part of the state. And as early as you mentioned catfish, we've kind of mirrored a little bit off the catfish. So the Department of Ag and Commissioner Gibson have really been willing to step in and help us across the state to make Mississippi unified in what we sell from a seafood and a catfish market.
Well, and that's the thing. This is not a new problem. We're just broadening the scope of our solution to this problem as it exists. Where are we at with the bill in this session?
The bill was extremely well. I mean, this bill is nowhere near a Democratic-Republican bill. All my House colleagues, 121, voted with me to pass this bill on to move it. Each of my colleagues believe in representing their constituents, their consumers that purchase these products. So we've sent it to the Senate. It's in Ports and Marines, and we're just going to wait to see the outcome of what the Senate does with this bill.
Well, we got a couple of big steps here. The first one, get it out of committee onto the floor of the Senate, and then get the vote in the Senate to go the right way. Have you taken the temperature? Do you have any idea if it makes it to the floor of the Senate, how you think that vote might go?
I personally believe that it will make it to the floor. Senator Thompson has been extremely helpful in moving this bill and getting it correct. I have a feeling that we're going to get it there, and I believe it'll be the same as the House. I mean, each one of those senators believe that their constituents deserve properly what they're purchasing, and I see them protecting their constituents as well.
Well, it's really hard to argue against a piece of legislation that when you boil it down to basic first principles, the purpose of this legislation is to tell people, okay, you have to tell the truth. That's not a very hard concept to grasp, and it's hard to argue against, I would think.
I believe it's very hard to argue against. I mean, that is what we're here for. That's what we're elected for, is to protect the people of Mississippi and also protect our, as I said earlier, many times, we've got to protect our Mississippi fishermen, and we have to give them an opportunity to be able to support their families as well as Fort Mississippi.
Yes, because somebody can import this stuff for pennies on the dollar compared to what it costs for our Mississippi fishermen to do it and misrepresent it as being as good. You get what you pay for, but you have to know what you're paying for before you know what you're going to get, which is the stated purpose of this bill. And I hope it's a unanimous vote in the Senate, personally. I would love to hear the reason why someone thinks this isn't a good idea.
I would too, Dave.
Well, maybe we can round them up and take them for a nice dinner, and we can get them served some tilapia, and you and I will have catfish, and we can talk about it.
I can do that any day.
Yeah, see, it's perfect. We've got a plan now.
I appreciate y'all's support. I appreciate SuperTalk getting invested in this bill, and we want to continue to push it. Like I said earlier, I believe the people of Mississippi, the tourists of Mississippi that we rely on, I believe it's very important to all.
Well, I think you're exactly right, and We are big believers in the truth here at SuperTalk, so this is an easy sell to us, I can tell you that, and it addresses a problem that's important in so many different ways to the state of Mississippi. So that's all a very long-winded way of saying good job with this bill. This is something that's accomplishing something that needs to be done, and I just still boggles my mind that there could be anyone that could argue against this bill. It is just, to me, I've got it open in front of me over here. It's a fantastic piece of legislation. Well done.
Well, I appreciate it. Like I said, once we get it out the Senate, Governor Reeves and his staff and General Spraggins of DMR, we're all intricate in helping put this bill together and make sure that we were fair to the people of Mississippi and also fair to the businesses of Mississippi who are in the seafood business. We're not trying to go against them. We're not trying to hurt them. We just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. And so I think if we get it out the Senate, it will be law.
We've got a little less than 60 seconds. Just very quickly, anything else floating around out there, so to speak, that's got your attention right now in this session?
Well, I look at it this way, as we're trying to help the fishermen increase their products and their sales and their work. We're really all pushing for HB1. We can eliminate the income tax. Speaker Wyatt has worked extremely hard on that. And I think as we continue pushing jobs in Mississippi, everyone's going to receive the benefit. So that's my next bill that we're going to help push. And, we just want to really make it strong, Mississippi. And I think it's going to, we have President Trump right now who are doing things. And I think if we continue along the lines of Mississippi, really working hard, working together with the House and Senate, we can eventually grow Mississippi.
All right, now to the important stuff.
Your VIP pass to hear what the most influential Mississippians are talking about.
This is very important.
Huge news. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Forgive me for trying to class up this place.
My transistor radio comes from far away. And when it's night over here, over there, it's breaking day. Good times I had a walking in the sand with the beautiful girl that I met made in Japan.
Welcome back.
The beauty of her face was beyond my wildest.
Lance, are you worked up yet over bird flu? You're supposed to be terrified, by the way. Okay. I was just checking. They are now, as people try to bring eggs into America from the U.S. and Canada, they're being seized at the border. Mm-hmm. Because, if there's one thing we can't have the people doing, it's handling a crisis on their own. That flies in the face of everything we're trying to accomplish here, Now it has come out, the USDA has reported that they have confirmed bird flu infections in rats.
Well, that's why Fauci got that pardon,
Well, I thought I had to read further into it. I thought they were talking about.
They didn't want
Fauci
the egg industry coming after him.
Yeah. So now it's Big Rat is going to be after him. 4 black rats.
The state of Louisiana is coming after him. There's no nutria left to kill.
Yeah, I realized as soon as I said it, Big Rat is not very specific these days. I might need to narrow it down some. It was in California, actually, that they found 4 rats that were infected with bird flu. So now we're down to cows, birds, but apparently only chickens. I'm sure they'll still protest dove hunters, even though bird flu is going on. It's just the food sources that are dangerous. You notice that? Mm-hmm. Cows and chickens. That's the two most.
Well, and remember deer. You've got
things.
Chronic waste disease in deer, and you've got
now that
birds.
is a problem.
Yeah, you got birds with flu, and all kind of stuff happening to the food sources out there.
Well, just to make sure that we put a bow on this and explain what's going on, they say that they're about to be granted approval for a bird flu vaccine.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. You're going to start catching birds, or do you quarantine them? You just don't let them go outside or go socialize with any other bird. I'm curious how that's going to work. Is there a big net you got to put on them or something? You know?
Get you a tiny little lasso. Get them one at a time and bring them in.
Yeah, who are we hiring for that job? Maybe that locksmith needs a gig, huh?
That locksmith, Fauci. There's a lot of people floating around loose now.
That may be a new thing with bird lassoer.
We can put them. Well, that makes about as much sense as one guy having all the keys to all the bathrooms and nobody else in Yosemite Park. I don't know if you saw, they had a big Black History Month dinner at the White House last night. The incredibly racist President Donald Trump had all these folks in here that had a wonderful time. Everybody had a ball, and he completely stunned the room when he walked out, and Tiger Woods walked out with him and spoke for a second. Got a big cheer. But, we're going to squint and turn our head and not notice any of this is going on because it doesn't fit the narrative that we continually try to sell as to what's going on.
Yeah, nobody really covered that.
No, you didn't hear much about it.
Conveniently, too, I would say.
Do you notice how many things don't get much coverage? You hear about them here because, well, I'm nosy and have a big mouth. But you don't hear a lot of this from the mainstream media. That's by design, very much. But I do want to just very quickly here, of course, coming up after the top of the hour, we'll be joined by Wyatt Emmerich. I am still really looking forward to this conversation. But Mitch McConnell announced yesterday on his 83rd birthday that he would not run for office again next year.
Oh, okay.
We have currently the third oldest Congress in the history of the country. The second oldest Congress was the one sworn in 2021. The oldest Congress was the one sworn in 2017.
What's the richest, though, Dave? This has to be the richest, right?
I'm pretty sure that would be this one as well. But I looked it up. I got curious because this is the way my brain works about the oldest the oldest senators to have ever lived. Mitch McConnell at 83 does not make the list. Strom Thurmond, of course, is the grand champion of that. He served until he was 100.
Are we sure he's not Mitch McConnell?
It may be a mask. Yeah, you've got a very good point. But we have right now, out of the 10 oldest senators, if you discount one who only served for one day, Rebecca Felton, back in 1922, she was appointed. She was 87 years old when she was appointed.
Wow.
If you take her out of that top 10, of the 9 that are left, 3 of them are currently serving. Out of the 10 oldest senators in the history of America,
breaking
a third
records
of them are in there right now. We are going to have to pay attention to this problem because, as Mitch McConnell famously said, I believe that age is...
Yeah.
no issue.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've got to pay some attention to this.
Wake up, get up, and start your day right with Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome back. Mornings on a Friday morning. Dave Hughes with you. The last hour ran out of time there. The last hour brought to you by the folks at MWG Employer Services. Business running is tough. MWG Employer Services can help you out with that with a full range of employer services and a custom plan that fits you. You can call today at 601-206-7966, or you can go to MWGEmployerServices.com for more information. All right. What we're going to be talking about now, well, I'm going to be just quite frank before we even get started. Ticks me off. Personally and definitely professionally. We have joining us now the president of Emmerich Newspapers, Wyatt Emmerich, joining us live on the air. How you doing this morning, Wyatt? Good to see you. Good to talk to you.
Doing fine.
Glad to hear it. Now, walk us through the story of what's going on in Clarksdale with the editorial that was run and what has happened since then out of that editorial.
The city council and the mayor wanted to raise taxes, I think 2% to fund the police. And there were several meetings about this. And then they had a special meeting where they broadened the use of the money. It could be for economic development purpose. They just made it, basically they could use the money for whatever they wanted to. But we weren't notified of this meeting as we typically are and as is required by law. And so the publisher there wrote a critical editorial saying that you're doing this in secrecy. This is a big change to what the tax was supposed to do, and this is not transparent. And the mayor and the commissioners did not like the editorial, and they went to a judge in Jackson, Judge Crystal Wise Martin, and without us even getting a chance to argue or be at the hearing, and the judge ordered us to to not publish the editorial.
So this was an ex parte ruling, basically. You weren't invited to come in and argue your side of the case. She just granted this ruling. But let's go back to a second. This was the meeting in question wasn't one of the regularly scheduled meetings. This was a special called meeting. And I believe the law states that the media and the public have to be notified is it at least an hour before the meeting?
I think so. I don't know the exact time period, but they admitted that they made a mistake. The clerk said she got busy and forgot to send out the notifications. What's unusual about this is, first of all, this was an editorial. It was clearly marked as opinion. Second of all, it was factually accurate, and it certainly was involved with a important public policy issue, taxes. And then finally, a government entity is not allowed to sue for libel. The Supreme Court has made that clear. And then fourthly, we weren't even invited to the hearing. And fifthly, what the heck were they doing in Jackson? They're supposed to do this in Clarksdale, so the whole thing is just remarkably bizarre.
Well, it is. And, I go back to something that I tell people all the time because I've dealt with politics for the last 10 years on the air. And when people say, boy, you're going to get in trouble, I'm like, what you don't realize is that is the literal job description of the press, is to fight City Hall when they need to be fought. you've always heard the expression, you can't fight City Hall. Well, that's kind of what you do in journalism. You hold them accountable when you see things going the wrong way. And to think that we have wound up in a position where a judge has issued a ruling saying, oh, no, you can fight City Hall, but not right now, is just almost unreal to me. Wyatt?
Well, this has created a national backlash. I've been interviewed by the Washington Post, New York Times, Daily Beast. There are dozens of articles in major national publications. So this really hit a nerve. And remember that the First Amendment is not just for the press. The First Amendment is for your speech. Your individual speech. And this is an extremely dangerous precedent that we intend to fight and to make sure that this law does not stand and that we get good case law on the books to make it clear that you can't do this. So, we're going to pursue it and take it to its legal conclusion and rectify this.
Well, and I think you have to, and you've got about 5 different legal standings you can challenge it on. It seems like it's going to be a slam dunk, but the fact remains you shouldn't have to fight this fight to begin with, because this is already pretty well established, at least so we thought. But as it turns out, sometimes a judge can just do whatever they want to do. That's what it feels like, isn't it?
My company publishes little weeklies and websites all over the state. And, most mayors and council members and police, they're cooperative. They understand the role of the media and the press. So, this is just, an unusual event. This particular mayor really feels like, and I think he believes this, that the paper is there to do what the mayor tells them to. That as mayor of the town, the paper's supposed to work for him and they basically be a propaganda organ for the mayor and the city council. He just has a different interpretation of the role of a newspaper in a small town. We feel like the newspaper should promote the community, but there's also a role to make sure people are informed about what's going on, especially when there's a significant change about a tax increase. I mean, it's one thing to raise taxes to go to the police. It's another thing if you're going to use it for general purposes. That's a different deal, and the people needed to be informed of that.
Well, and when they're going to make that change in a special called meeting, that they don't announce ahead of time that they're going to be doing it to the press or to anyone else, forget the Open Meetings Act and the Sunshine Laws, it's called. That's just, I don't even know if borderline would be the correct term here, but that's misrepresentation of what you're doing with people's tax dollars. And to me is the biggest issue that's come to light here, I think.
Well, the city attorney called me and said he was going to do this, and I said, "This is going to blow up in your face. This is crazy. I've been doing this for 50 years. I understand libel, and this is not libelous." And it did blow up in their face, and it's become a national story. And but I tell you, this is in the larger picture of the decline of local journalism. We've lost 2/3 of our local journalists in this country because of big tech and really the monopolization of digital advertising. It has really changed the economics of the local news business, and it's really a problem in Mississippi. I mean, we're struggling to survive, and this is like kicking a dog when he's down. I mean, if we're going to have to fight, the city government suing us for libel every time we criticize them, that could be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Well, and especially in this situation, because you're exactly right. The times have changed, and as a result, print journalism is struggling, and it has been for a while. That didn't just start, but it does play a vital role in, especially in communities, because that's a lot of times, many times, one of the most local sources they can get on some issues. But the thing here is, if they get their way with this ruling, and I want to get your opinion on this, it just feels to me like that is an enormous step towards basically having a state-run media like Pravda instead of a free press.
It is. But it's not going to stand, because we live in a free country and we have the First Amendment. And but you're right. I mean, we're fortunate to be living in the United States of America with the First Amendment. Other countries, that's the way it goes. I mean, there is no freedom of the press. You're just pushed around by the powers that be. I mean, in Mexico, journalists are killed by gangs if you write anything that insults the gangs. So, you know, one country over, I'd be more.
From the Venable Glass.
You're waking up to what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross. Right now on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, Super Talk Mississippi Mornings. Dave Hughes here. We have Wyatt Emmerich with us, the president of Emmerich Newspapers, and the editorial that sparked all of this. Editorials, they kind of, in a way, have different rules surrounding them as opposed to a straight, hard news story, don't they?
Yes and no. It depends on the case law. There's a Mississippi Supreme Court decision that says no. It's not completely exempt. It's sort of a gray area. I mean, First Amendment case law, like any complex federal case law, is complicated. But yes, I mean, I think opinion is different than if you portray it as pure fact.
Definitely. The title of and this has been removed from the newspaper's website in Clarksdale, right? Under the court order?
Oh, yes. We're following the judge's order. I have no intention of going to jail.
That's usually a good plan, Why? I like that. The title of it was Secrecy, Deception, Erode Public Trust. That seems like something people would need to know about, and it seems like, from what I know of the facts of this situation, an accurate title. And I know it wasn't just over the title, but I'm using that to illustrate the fact that this seems like we're trying to make a mountain out of a molehill just to prove a point. Is that a fair statement, you think?
Well, the publisher in Clarksdale, Floyd Ingram, he is a old school curmudgeon. I mean, he reports the news. He's great. And I mean, it's what you want in a small town weekly publisher. And he's not a sycophant. He doesn't back down. And he and the mayor butted heads. And so this has really kind of been a long simmering conflict. And in fact, the mayor, Chuck Espy, offered me $30,000 to fire Floyd. I talked about that on this show a while back. Another unusual, bizarre. Nobody's ever offered me cold hard cash to fire a publisher. But it all goes back to when the mayor and the commissioners raised their salaries to sky high levels. I think they're some of the highest paid city officials in the state. They raised their salaries, tens of thousands of dollars, like 30% or 40%, something like that. And we reported on that, and the citizens were outraged. And it's kind of been that way ever since. The mayor just doesn't like us, and so he says it was an innocent mistake that we weren't notified. Well, there've been a lot of innocent mistakes to our detriment from this mayor over the years.
Well, and the innocent mistakes always seem to miraculously happen at the same time as very pivotal things that need to be covered. It just seems like it always works out that way in my experience. I would also like to say, if I was in your position and somebody offered me $30,000 to fire an editor, I would give him a raise because he's obviously doing a really good job.
Well, I'm a lover, not a fighter, and I've tried to mediate between Floyd and the mayor over the years. And sometimes we'll write, the mayor will demand a retraction, and we'll say no. We'll write a clarification and let you get your point across. And I tried to do that this time, just to give more context to the editorial. And Floyd just said, "No, I'm gonna quit if you make me do this. There's nothing wrong with that editorial, and we need to quit caving in to the mayor's silly demands. We need to fight this." And I said, "Okay, Floyd, I'm not going to fire you. If I hadn't fired you yet, I'm not going to fire you now. So I guess we'll fight this. You realize it's going to be a hassle fighting this." And he goes, "I know." I said, "Okay, if you're willing to do it, I'll do it." And here we are.
Well, I'm not sure we can call it a trend yet, but, we had the case last year where a sheriff's office went in and raided a local newspaper and took their computers and everything else. So I'm not sure we could call it a trend, but it's disturbing that we've had 2 cases along these lines within a 12-month period. Is there any way to get the message across that, okay, just don't do this. Don't make moves in this direction? That didn't end well for the sheriff's department. I suspect this one's not going to end well for the city officials in Clarksdale in court. Is there any way to kind of back this off a little bit?
So it used to be local news outlets were more powerful, but they've been weakened by the rise of the internet and loss of profits. You mentioned print's declining. We have more readers on our website than print. I mean, we're very techno savvy. The problem is that Google and Facebook, the big tech, has monopolized digital advertising. Google was declared a monopoly this year in federal court. I'm actually, Emmerich Newspapers is a class representative in an antitrust lawsuit against Google in the same federal court up in D.C. Google has monopolized digital advertising. So even though we have a tremendous presence on the web, we're having a hard time monetizing that because it's 99 for Google and 1 for us. So that's a problem that's got to be rectified on a national scale and is being done so right now. The federal judge is looking at breaking up Google. So that's a bigger context. But the good news is the internet and quick communications has allowed this rallying cry of national people, First Amendment aficionados, who just immediately rally behind us. So locally, yes, we're weaker, but nationally we're stronger because we have this huge, instantaneous support group. Somebody posted on Twitter and went viral. Next thing you know, everybody's on our side. So it's just a changing environment. But yeah, I mean, local news outlets need to regain their financial footing. And the first step is to not allow Google's monopolistic practices. Google owns every aspect of online digital advertising. People don't know this. They're a complete and total monopoly in that space. And it's not something the ordinary person sees, but it's completely crippled us financially.
And that, as you said, has kind of diluted the power, but that power still exists in some form. And in this particular case, I know you said a moment ago you're a lover, not a fighter. Even a lover occasionally has to go, okay, you've pushed me as far as you're going to push me now. It's time to push back. And I think you're kind of at that point.
Well, we had to. I mean, this is just nuts. The plaintiff on the lawsuit is the city of Clarksdale. The governmental entities can't be liable. That's just, the law doesn't work that way. And the Supreme Court has said that in New York Times versus Sullivan. They said there's no conceivable court in the land that could harbor the idea that a governmental entity could be sued, defamed or sued for libel. So it's just blatant disregard for federal law.
And this is,
and even though we're in Mississippi, we are part of the United States, and a local judge simply cannot ignore the fact that Mississippi is in the United States of America.
And beholden to the Constitution, among many other things. So, yeah, it's important. And I have to say, this whole story, when this first popped up, I was not shocked. I was not necessarily surprised. And this has nothing to do specifically with Clarksdale or with you. This is just kind of the way things seem to be going right now. One of these days, not going to do it on the air. Next time we talk, I could share some stories with you from personal experience that you're like, oh, yeah, okay.
I know, anybody in the media.
It's ridiculous, and it's good to see you guys are fighting the good fight, because if we can't talk about it when elected officials don't necessarily perform up to expectations of the taxpayers, what's the point?
Absolutely. I mean, we got to do our job, and what I do and what my company does, we're like the nuts and bolts. We go to the city council meeting and report. We go to the board of supervisors meeting. We report when there's a crime spree. We report, homecoming queens, eagle. I mean, we're just doing debate. We're not trying to get involved in, left wing, right wing. We're just trying to do basic local news reporting. And if we go away, all you've got is innuendos and rumors posted to Facebook. Professional journalism is necessary. You don't go to the carpenter to do your brain surgery. There is training and skill involved in producing news. And Americans need to realize that they need to support true professional journalists who have gone to journalism school, taken the classes. I know there's bias, there's always, but we try to be objective. We're trained to do that, and this country needs to support professional journalism.
Wyatt Emmerich, president of Emmerich Newspapers, I am so glad you came on. Keep fighting the good fight. You're now officially my...
Waking up Mississippi. From South Haven to Scuba, it's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Got a dream, boy, got a song. Paint your wagon and come along. Where I go and I don't know, where I head and I ain't certain for. I know is I am on my way. When will I be there? I don't know. When will I get there? I ain't certain for. I know is I am on my way.
Welcome back.
Who is that?
Who is it? Cowboy.
Yep. I think that's going way, way back.
A musical Western. Paint your wagon.
There you go.
Oh,
I couldn't think I knew it, but the words wouldn't come.
Please welcome, as we have with us every Friday morning at this time, fresh in from the back 40, Dixon Cowboy Williams with a look at sports. How you doing this morning, man?
I'm hanging in there, I think.
Yeah, that's about all you can do.
That's right.
I have just kind of sighed in sympathy to myself all week as I have gotten about 6 emails per day from you with the word alert in the subject line. You're having a week, aren't you?
I'm telling you, man, it's fun. I tell you. Kind of. You used to be a stand-up comic, had a routine that, and one of his jokes was, I know what it feels like to be a golf ball hit full swing in a tile bathroom.
That paints a really good mental picture, because this time of year you've got a lot of bounces
and a lot of things change, a lot of moving parts and all that good stuff.
Then you throw in hockey.
Well, yeah. Thank goodness we ain't got that started yet. Southeastern Conference hockey.
You see, most
There
people
are teams
still
that
don't
they
even.
do have teams.
Yeah, they don't even know that's a thing. I'm not sure I knew that was a thing.
They're all Canadians too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
But anyhow, we're going to get to the business at hand today, which is on baseball, because it's great baseball weather.
Yes,
Oh,
it's,
yeah,
it's
balmy.
freezing.
Yeah, you have to wear your hunting socks on your baseball uniform. But yeah, the day's games between Ole Miss and Mississippi State have been moved up to a 2:00 first pitch, so they can hopefully get them over with before it gets back down into the 30s and 20s at after 5 o'clock. So we'll see what happens with that. Of course, now looking at the standings right now, there are, I think, 8 still undefeated baseball teams in the conference. Alabama and South Carolina are 5-0. Arkansas, Florida, LSU, Tennessee are 4-0. Oklahoma and Texas A&M are 3-0. Now mark your calendar, because less than a month from right now starts Southeastern Conference baseball action.
Man.
Yeah.
It never stops. It never slows down, does it?
No, it doesn't. It just ramps up. And then, of course, right in the middle of that, you got the SEC basketball tournament. So it gets real interesting when you get to that part of the March. But yeah, Ole Miss is at home against Eastern Kentucky today at 2:00. They'll have a 1:30 game on a flagship station tomorrow, and then on Sunday they have a noon first pitch against Eastern Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky is 0-4 coming into the weekend, while the Rebels are 3-1. And as I mentioned, that SEC weekend that starts in March, Ole Miss will open at home against Arkansas. Mississippi State is at home against Missouri State. The Bears are 2-1. The Bulldogs are 3-1. And they'll play a 2:00 first pitch today, and a 2:00 first pitch on backup KBB only tomorrow. And then Missouri State on Sunday is a 1:00 first pitch for Mississippi State as they come in. And their opening SEC weekend in March will be against the Texas Longhorns at Duty Noble. And the Southern Miss Golden Eagles, who scored a big win this past week against Mississippi State, they're 5-0. They take on the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs, they're 4-0, and that'll be this afternoon in Hattiesburg, as they have a 4:00 first pitch, a 2:00 first pitch tomorrow, and a 1:00 first pitch on Sunday against Louisiana Tech. And they open Sun Belt action on the 14th of March against Old Dominion in Hattiesburg. Now, taking a look at the basketball action that will be coming up on the weekend, as this is the last weekend in February for basketball, by the way. And Auburn is 12-1, Alabama and Florida are 10-3, Missouri and Texas A&M are 9-4, Ole Miss and Tennessee are 8-5, Kentucky and Mississippi State are 7-6. And this weekend, Mississippi State will travel to Oklahoma, take on the Sooners, and that will be a noon tip with an 11:30 airtime on the MSU Basketball Network tomorrow. And then Ole Miss will travel to Vanderbilt with a 2:30 tip in Nashville and a 2:00 airtime on the Ole Miss Basketball Network. Other action in the conference in basketball is number 6 Tennessee is at number 7 Texas A&M. Georgia will be at number 1 Auburn. Number 17 Kentucky will be at number 4 Alabama. Number 2 Florida will be at LSU. Number 15 Missouri at Arkansas, and Texas will wrap up the day against South Carolina. And then Southern Miss Golden Eagles didn't have a good night last night against Coastal Carolina in Reed Green Coliseum, as they dropped an 87-78 decision to Coastal Carolina, and they will host the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana on Saturday. It's a 7:00 tip in the Reed Green Coliseum, as the Golden Eagles will celebrate senior night on Saturday. And next week, we'll have a little bit more information on this as we get more into it next week. The 2025 NFL Combine will take place starting Monday, running through March the 3rd. The defensive linemen and linebackers will be up first on Thursday, and then on Friday, defensive backs and tight ends. And then on Saturday, March the 1st, quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs. Sunday will be offensive linemen, and that'll be, I believe, at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. There are 11 Ole Miss players invited to the Combine, headlined, of course, by quarterback Jackson Dart.
Hey, one question I have for you.
Good grief.
College baseball question.
Okay.
Let's put it this way. When was the last time Mississippi State played Texas and college baseball. Interesting one because it actually is very significant.
I think I heard Kellen mention something about that when they were playing out there in the, of course, in the Shriners deal.
2021, neutral Arlington, Texas Globe Life. And then remember that Mississippi State, the opening game of the College World Series in 2021 with Will Bednar on the mound, Landon Sims in the pen, Brad Cumbas, Scotty DeBrew, Rowdy Jordan, Tanner Allen, Cameron James took home the trophy. They had to beat Texas 2-1 in that one. And then the other one was 85.
I was fixing to say, Mississippi State had a game against the Texas Longhorns in the College World Series.
Yes, sir. 2 years. You had 83 and an 85.
Right.
So really, these two have not met in a long time. That it hadn't been a greatly significant game. It wasn't like non-conference didn't matter. Let's just play a game. No, every time they've played Texas, there's been a lot on that game. So that'll be a great opening series when they get there.
The game in 85, if Mississippi State had won that game, they were well on their way until the 7th inning.
You remember those names on that team?
I think Gene Morgan was one of them. There was a guy named Palmero and Clark.
Great mustache.
And they were pretty much in control of that game until a line shot off of, I think Morgan was pitching.
That's it.
And it went off his shin.
And then he had to come, didn't he?
And then he came back. And Texas ate him up.
That's right.
And they went on to win that game. But if State had won that, they would have been in the championship round of that year's College World Series. But, that's the funny thing about baseball sometimes.
Yeah, the way the ball bounces. I remember I was cruising against LSU my freshman year in the championship of the SEC. We were in Oxford. I was at Auburn. And then all of a sudden, Todd Walker comes up, and he drills one off my shin. And then Rush Johnson comes up, and he drills one off my shin. I didn't feel too good after that. Started running out of juice pretty quick, getting a little stiff. So, when those balls hit you in the leg, it's not your arm, but it makes a big difference.
No doubt, because it's what I used to call the Dizzy Dean syndrome. Dizzy Dean's career got ended because he got hit on the big toe with a line drive.
Oh, man.
Now, the reason for that was because he changed his pitching motion and hurt his arm.
Makes sense. Yeah, your feet, that's the anchor. You got to get all that right before everything else works.
Exactly.
Well, what have we learned here today? Number one, we now know why Lance still has a slight limp to this day. Number two, I would like to point out the dynamic. I absolutely love this when we get to baseball season and college baseball in particular, because you two, Dixon's on play-by-play and Lance is on color. It's just like listening to a game, but it's about all the games, and it's glorious. I love it.
That's the great thing about baseball. If you put Dixon and I in a booth together and gave us 3 hours, oh, man. I mean, you're in no hurry. You get to just hang out and have a good time.
Just two guys talking baseball.
Just having a big time.
I will say, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say this, Dixon doesn't travel well anymore, so that probably wouldn't work.
He doesn't have to travel well. That's the thing. He's gotten to that point where you just go, I don't think so.
No, he just sits in his office and panics 5 times a day until May.
Just get on that old wagon train and see what happens.
Exactly. Dixon, always enjoy having you in here, sir.
Yes, indeed.
You are the most knowledgeable person I know on a subject. Any subject. I don't care what it is.
Grit Channel 2 now. Yeah, get him on Grit.
Well, that's the really humiliating part. He's an expert on multiple subjects.
Whatever he chooses to put his mind to work on.
Yes, it's incredible. Dixon Williams, thank you, sir. Have a good weekend. Try to scale back your panics to 2 or 3 a day. Okay? Looking out for his health at this point. Final segment up next.
From the Venable.
Want to know what's happening in Mississippi politics?
Yes.
You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Wait for it.
I can only assume that's the walk-in music Kash Patel is using at FBI headquarters
I
this
hope
morning.
so, yeah. With a big cigar in his mouth, you know.
Yes.
And with B.A. Baracus off to his right. Like, hey, you want to mess with me, you're messing with him.
If there's one thing Kash would agree with, he loves it when a plan comes together.
Yes. And that's not a guy you really want to mess with. He doesn't look like the guy you want to mess with, actually.
Well, I'm going to say something honest here. Might get me in trouble. It's never stopped me in my long media career. I've never worried about that, and as a result, I've gotten in trouble. So who knows? Does he look a little crazy, or is it just me?
Yeah.
And I mean that
look, yeah.
I mean that in a good way, but he just has that look in his eyes where you don't know if he's going to shake your hand or gnaw your leg off at the knee. You just can't tell. And honestly, to straighten out things, that's kind of the guy you want, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, you don't know if he's going to put a forearm shiver on you, or pull a Ric Flair, or come up with something extremely articulate.
He may do all three. That's the thing. Style and profile.
Hey, I'm going to say this, and it is a shameless brag. I said it weeks ago. There wasn't anybody in this group that was not going to get confirmed.
Yeah.
Just, the way it was rolling, it just looked like it was going to be political theater, followed by a bunch of hand-wrangling and griping and moaning and groaning, and then voila, here you go. Here's your cabinet.
That's what I would like to see go away, is the political theater. We could get so much accomplished, and I realized they wanted to drag this out to prove a point and to score their brownie points in the public's eye on the liberal side of things. Let's just get business done instead of prancing around pontificating about how right we are. You're not, and we don't care. Please go home. Please shut up, have a seat. You're not driving the bus anymore. But we have to put up with this. And what I'm starting to feel like is a misplaced sense of fairness. Mm-hmm. Where was the fairness the last 4 years? It didn't exist.
No.
So I'm not really sure how much of the political theater I really want to engage with anymore. You're basically preaching to the choir at this point if you're on that side, screaming about these things. There are no new votes to be won by screaming all the same things that lost you the election in November. They don't get that. They're incapable of getting that.
You just say it louder and more often. And
yes.
you think people will go, oh, okay, I get it now. Right. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Or the new move that I've noticed from a lot of the liberal politicians on the national stage, you say it louder and you look directly at the camera and you've got to have one finger up while you're talking.
Oh, yeah, you got to instruct and lecture,
Yes, it's like you're scolding a recalcitrant child. How dare you do something stupid?
Well, and the other side of that, too, is have you ever heard a liberal or the Democrat side ever say, you're right, we made a mistake?
No, they make no mistakes. They're perfect human beings in all ways. All of their stances, all of their opinions, all of their takes on everything, 100% accurate. They've never been wrong a day in their life. And if you show me someone who has never been wrong a day in their life, you're showing me someone I wouldn't trust for a second with anything remotely important. I have messed up more times in my life than I care to contemplate right now because I still have to stay up for the next couple of minutes. And I think anybody with a reasonable amount of, self-reflection and introspection can say the same thing. Everybody messes up. But if you choose to ignore it and try to pretend that you're always right, you're always on the big white horse with the white hat, you're not trustworthy to me.
And you're an extremely insecure person if you can't realize the error of your way, look in the mirror and go, that really wasn't the best way to do something. If you're always right, you're recalcitrant anytime someone tries to have a debate or show another point of view, that's not someone you want to hang around, unless you're just like that and you like hollering and screaming and banging your head against the wall and accomplishing nothing.
Yeah, well, I would probably classify it in a slightly different way. It's a bunch of raging narcissists. That's what we're dealing with.
that are addicted to communism and socialism.
And apparently cocaine in a lot of cases, but that's an entirely different story. We still haven't found out who left their coke in the White House. That'll come out sooner or later.
Peruvian flake found in the White House. Who took the last trip to Peru, huh?
The Bolivian marching powder that was discarded in the guest room in a cubby hole. How long will it be before we find out who it was, and what will happen when we find out it was either Hunter or Kamala?
Yeah, remember back when it was the white powder was anthrax. Now it's just blow, huh?
Yeah. You know, it's not a threat, it's a gift.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Well, for a little while, and then you're going to have to take a nap. Enjoyed it as always, buddy. Great job again, as always. We will do it again next week here on Mornings. You have a fantastic weekend, my friend.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.